I still remember the exact moment my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. I was standing in my mother's living room, the same room where I'd celebrated birthdays, cried over breakups, and dreamed about my own future. The afternoon light was warm, but her words felt like ice. "Sweetheart, we think it's best if you don't come to your sister's wedding." I blinked, waiting for her to laugh and say she was joking. She didn't. My father stood beside her, arms crossed, nodding like this was some difficult but necessary decision. My little sister, the golden child, was getting married in 3 weeks. And I, the older daughter who had quietly paid for so many family bills over the years, was suddenly not invited. Why? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. My mother sighed, the kind of sigh that carried years of unspoken disappointment. "You know how tense things get with you and Emily. This is her special day. We don't want any drama." Drama? I had never caused drama. I was the reliable one, the one who got the corporate job, who moved out at 22, who sent money home when Dad's business struggled. Emily was the one who partied through college, changed majors 3 times, and still lived at home at 27. But somehow I was the problem. I left their house that day with tears burning my eyes and a hole in my chest that felt impossible to fill. I drove home in silence, replaying every family gathering where I had been pushed to the side while Emily shone. I cried myself to sleep that night, wondering what I had done to deserve being erased from my own sister's wedding. The next few days were a blur of pain and confusion. Friends asked why I seemed distant. I couldn't even bring myself to tell them the truth. "How do you explain that your own parents chose your sister over you so publicly? That the people who brought you into this world decided you weren't worthy of standing in the family photos?" I stared at the beautiful invitation Emily had posted on social media, the one with no mention of me. Every like and loving comment felt like another small cut. I wanted to disappear, but deep down, something else was stirring. A quiet voice that whispered, "Maybe this is the moment you finally stop proving your worth to people who will never see it." Little did I know, the real shock was only 3 days away. 3 days after that painful conversation, my phone rang while I was making coffee. It was my father. His voice sounded different, tight, almost desperate. "Listen, we need to talk about something important." I stayed quiet, letting him speak. "The wedding venue doubled the deposit at the last minute. Some mistake with the contract. We're short $38,000. Your mother and I have nowhere else to turn. We were hoping you could help us. You've always been the responsible one." I almost laughed from the sheer disbelief. The same parents who had just uninvited me from the wedding were now asking me to save it to the tune of 38,000. I felt my hands start to shake. "You excluded me from the wedding, and now you want me to pay for it?" There was a long pause. Then my mother jumped on the line, her voice thick with emotion. "Honey, please. This isn't about choosing sides. Emily is devastated. The wedding is her dream. We'll pay you back, I promise. You know we would never ask if we weren't desperate." Desperate. That word echoed in my mind. For years I had been the safety net. When Dad's business failed, I helped. When Emily needed tuition money, I contributed. When the house needed repairs, guess who wired the funds? I had built a successful career in finance, worked 80-hour weeks, and sacrificed my 20s so my family could have stability. And in return, they treated me like I was optional. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. I realized in that moment that I had never been a daughter to them. I had been an ATM with feelings. I told them I needed time to think and hung up. Then I sat on my couch and let the tears come. Not just sad tears, angry, exhausted, grieving tears. I grieved the family I thought I had. I grieved the little girl who just wanted to feel loved and chosen. But as the hours passed, the pain began to transform into something clearer. Strength, clarity. For the first time, I saw the pattern that had been there my whole life. I had been rewarding their favoritism with my silence and my money. I spent the next day reflecting on every time I had put their needs before my own peace. And I made a decision. This time, things would be different. I wasn't going to explode or cause a scene. I was going to respond with the same calm they had used when they excluded me. I called them back the following evening. My voice was steady, though my heart was racing. "I'll help with the money," I said. I heard their audible relief. My mother started crying happy tears, thanking me over and over. "But there are conditions." The line went quiet. "First, I will transfer the money directly to the venue, not to you. Second, I expect to be added back to the guest list immediately. And third, I want a public apology from both of you and Emily at the rehearsal dinner, not a private one." In front of the family, the silence that followed was heavy. My father cleared his throat. That's a bit much, don't you think?" I smiled sadly to myself. "No, Dad. What's a bit much is erasing your own daughter from her sister's wedding and then asking her to fund it. This is the bare minimum." After some back and forth, they agreed. They had no choice. On the day of the rehearsal dinner, I walked into the room wearing the elegant dress I had originally bought for the wedding. The silence that fell over the relatives was satisfying in the quietest way. Emily looked stunned. My parents looked nervous. My father stood up first. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "We owe our daughter an apology. We made a terrible mistake by not including her. She has always been there for this family, and we failed to show her the love and respect she deserves." My mother followed, tears in her eyes, and even Emily managed a few shaky words. I didn't gloat. I simply nodded, accepted their words, and sat through the dinner. The money was already paid. The wedding went ahead beautifully. But something had shifted forever. In the weeks that followed, I set new boundaries. I stopped being the family bank. I started saying no with love and without guilt. And surprisingly, some relationships began to heal once they understood I could no longer be taken for granted. Looking back, that painful exclusion became one of the greatest gifts of my life. It forced me to see my own worth. It taught me that real love doesn't come with conditions or price tags. And it showed me that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't loud or cruel, it's quietly choosing yourself after years of choosing everyone else. If you're watching this and you've ever felt invisible in your own family, please hear me. Your value is not measured by how much you give or how little they acknowledge you. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to choose yourself. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is stand tall in your truth even when the people who should love you most try to dim your light. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Until next time, remember, your heart deserves to be at every table you help build.